Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we're back with part 2 of Jubilee boss battles because my part 1 was quite long, like over half an hour, and we had many teams to show off because I wanted to give people many options in case they didn't have the new meta. So I didn't want to make the video like an hour long by including boss battle 2, so that is what we are doing today, is we are focusing on boss battle 2. So, like yesterday, I will have the best possible team that I can make personally for my highest score, and then we will devolve from there, just like yesterday. So, without further ado, I mean, the disclaimer still exists where if you don't have the FoW Wisdom team, I'm sorry, but you're just going to get a shit score. But yeah, that's about it. It's about as real as I can get, okay? Alright, so, boss battle 2. I think there's a school bus outside. This is the team we're going to run. We're no longer focusing on, buffing up Rimuru because this is a traditional Jubilee fight where you need to do as much overkill damage as possible. So you want to get the boss as low as you can and then do as much damage as possible after that, pretending he has multiple health bars. So we are working on buffing up HINATA as much as possible. So we've got Gobta back in now for his 30% wind buff and pierce power. Dark Vow again is here for the permanent 60% buff, which, when put with Hinata's own personal buff, puts her at 100%, and then, Albus and Rimuru to do what Albus and Rimuru do. So this is, the team that I have currently with my best score, so let's go ahead and start it up. Turn 1. I've already orb changed here. It is an Albus orb change, so 2 green to 2 blue. I forgot to hit record, but that's what we've done so far. So we've done the orb change. Now we're swapping in HINATA. We've got Valentine still up front to give us that protection trait along with HINATA's protection trait. Rimuru is up front because he has light Rimuru attached to him, which is more protection trait. So now in turn 2, we will have 2 full stacks of Diablo. So we're going to look pretty good. And this is the run. I don't think I have to reset anything here. But it is kind of unfortunate, our hand. But we have, 2 orb changers here. It's pretty bad. But we're going to just run the oranges because it'll give us more ult gauge for HINATA. This team, once again, we are running the protection, the ult gauge charm that we were using previously on EX Rimuru. Now we're using it for HINATA just to make sure, because we don't have Trainee to artificially buff it. We'd have to use Diablo to do it, which we're going to get a lot of stacks, so it works out pretty well. And actually, those 2 oranges were not the worst thing in the world, because it just speeds the process up. So here, he is kind of squishy. I know some people have said they've had to take some gear off just to not kill him. I haven't really found that to be an issue. But, once you are ready to nuke and you have all of your buffs on, turn 8, he does have guard, but he doesn't have any extra defense, so your attacks, even your normals, will hit harder than you would think. And I think I had like 3 runs go bad because I misjudged how much damage we were going to do. Because, you want to get him as low as possible without actually killing him, and then you send the ult. So sometimes math is hard, and trying to judge how much damage you're going to do takes a few runs to determine how much you're going to do, and therefore you can calculate it the next time. So here we have HINATA's ult, 2 more orbs with HINATA. We have to leave her in because we do need to get orbs, and we do need to get her EX ult. Thankfully, Diablo being here, especially this hand right here, like normally this would be a really crappy hand, but it allows us to use an ult buff from Valentine, so that's the second one. We can use Diablo to get us a little bit more, and then I think these 4 oranges will get us her ult. So we're just going to send it. But now we want to make sure that Gobta is up front, because we do want to use Gobta's skill on HINATA when she has her EX ult, and then send her away and hold it. That way we don't have to use that on the nuke turn, and we can get away with not having as many points as necessary. But, I mean, we got a full HINATA hand, so in case we didn't get her ult, the game was going to give it to us regardless. So, I mean, this works out pretty well, and, we're ready to go. And now that we have another HINATA orb coming in, it means that I don't really have to orb change here. I can just use Gobta's buff and then send her away for probably Albus, or not. No, we have to use the buff first. So I think I was deciding whether I wanted to actually orb change his hand or not. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to just use the buff. Checking skill points. We use Gopta skill to make sure that we can get more skill points off the blues, because we still have this turn and turn 7 to do so. And then we'll bring in Albus, and we'll have a full hand of Albus. We'll get us a decent amount of points, another alt gauge or another protection gauge, and also do some decent damage to him, and then just get him lower. So now turn 7, we are just looking to get yeah, we're just looking to get points right here, enough to use the 240 that's necessary. Alongside, I think, do we need one more stack of Valentine? I think we do, which actually works out because we can use the orb. Yeah, we do need one more stack of Valentine, so we can use Albus's orb change here for the green, the one green that we have, because we're going to pull in that other blue that's waiting when we swap Albus out for Val, and then that'll give us a full hand of blues. It'll allow us to have, you know, max stack with Valentine, and we'll be ready to go. Or I think I do some shenanigans here. Hold on. No, I had to pull in HINATA first for... no, hold on. What am I doing here? Okay, we're going to use HINATA's orb change instead. Not that it really matters. I guess it's cheaper. But there we go. So now when we swap her out, technically, now we'll have a full hand of blues. There we go. All right, the process was there. I just had to remember what we were doing. But there's the final stack with Valentine, so that's the full 60%. There's another stack of Diablo, and it goes on to Rimuru, I think. It doesn't really matter. But now we will have maximum points right here. Plus, maybe 2 more gauges of Diablo. Maybe 1. I don't actually remember if we do get it or not. I don't think we do. Because I think none of our characters give us protection gauge anymore. But we do have full points, and we don't. So, unfortunate, but it is what it is. So now HINATA can come in for Valentine. She serves no other purpose now. This is the nuke turn. This is for max turn bonus on turn 8. So he has a decent amount of health left, so we do have to whittle him down a little bit. And I guess that's how this run could be better, is that I could get him lower than what I get him to increase my score, but honestly, I'm not really that concerned about it. So he has like, I want to say like 100k left or something, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit more, like 120. And I know from experience that HINATA's fully buffed orbs do about 80k. So we're going to send the Rimuru, and then HINATA, and then the alt. So we're just checking, seeing what he's got. He has guard rate for 100%, so he will guard this attack. And then there's 18, then there's 39k, so we didn't do quite as much, but then we do 2 million damage with HINATA, which gives us our final score of 127.9, which, let me check, is not my highest, but it's very close. It's within 2k, so, I mean, I think the only way they can make that better is if I had another stack of Diablo or something, and then we would have done more damage, but there is that run in the bag. So that is the Fount of Wisdom team with Dark Valentine, and now let's move on to the not so happy and wonderful teams. Alright, team number 2 is going to be, once again, the Light 3.0 team, the next highest damaging team in the game as far as stacking is concerned. It's not going to do 2 million damage on one nuke, I'll tell you that much. But, I mean, if you have it, you can definitely use it, just like you could use it for Boss Battle 1. The difference is, this time I brought Water Rimuru. You could very easily swap him out for, who would it be? It would be Dark Valentine for the extra ult buff. I mean, you technically do have Orb Changer, and Orb Stealer. You don't really need Rimuru, but I brought him as insurance for orb changing. But otherwise, you know, it's Light 3.0. So let's go ahead and start this up. It's going to run the same way, it's just you don't need EX alts. You do, because he does have, what, 50% magic resistance? You're going to need at least 2 alts to get him to, like, a low point before you nuke with Raphael. And this run took me quite a few attempts because I wasn't sure how much damage we were going to do. Because the first time I sent everything, and then I think I ended up killing with Lumi before I got to Raphael's ult. Because I think Milim, if you get a lot of stacks on her, she can do like 200k or something like that. or around there. Valentine does like 300k, but then Raphael on this run specifically did like 505 or somewhere around there. So you definitely want to get claimant as low as possible before that 505 nuke goes off. So it's just, trial and error as to who gets to ult before Raphael, whether he is way high and you need to get him really, really low with Valentine, or you can, not damage him as much with the AoE ult from Milim. But otherwise, this team runs the same way as the previous team. It's just stacks on stacks on stacks. You just don't need an EX ult. And because Rimuru is not an orb changer, you can very easily hold him in the back, and you could send your ults as they come, just to get them out of your way. That way you always consistently have full hands of blues to get as many stacks as possible, because that's where most of your damage is coming from, really. So it's, you gotta work with what you gotta work with. Again, people attempting this Jubilee without the Fount of Wisdom team are going to be in for a very, very, very rough time, and it will make them very angry and bitter about the game, and I understand that. Power creep is good, but when you lock people out of, content like this, like there aren't any other options to use to be competitive, it becomes quite a hassle. Quite a hassle. And like I said before, I'll save that for another video when I'm going through everything that this meta has brought, and the changes that came with it, because we didn't get that JP survey that said how happy are you. They didn't ask us, probably because they knew that most people would say I don't really much care for it. But I don't really know if the JP player base is really that happy with it either. I don't actually know. I don't know any JP players, so we'll have to wait and see what changes come about based on that JP survey, if anything. I don't actually know. I think they would get some good, honest feedback from the global side, but they don't really give a shit about us, so not a good sign. Not a good sign. So we're on turn 4. The nuke turn, again, is turn 8, so, we have time to spare. But here we go. We're going to steal that. We're going to orb change here. We have no Raphael orbs, so I think I just get her out of here, because I kind of want... Or not. Okay. We're going to bring Lumi in here to get an ult, I assume. Okay, there we go. Alright, we've swapped Raphael. I should have just swapped Lumi in for Raphael and left it. But it's okay. It's whatever. But as you can see, we are not doing a lot of damage. We are not doing nearly as much damage as we would for this. So here we go. Maybe it was a better call that I swapped Raphael out. That way I could bring her in for Lumi. So now we'll go ahead and steal with Rimuru to change those, and then we can use the orange and the green from him because we have the points. This team again isn't as point heavy as the Fount of Wisdom team, but it still does require quite a bit on the nuke turn, because you're doing 3 55-point skills and an 80-point skill. It can get expensive. But here I'm just thinking. I think we can speed this up, actually. So hold on. Let's go 150%. I might start it over, too. So, turn 5, right? Yeah. I think we're fine here. And we can just speed this up, because we don't need to sit here in full real time. So now we have a Raphael ult. Now we have a Shuna ult. Now we're looking pretty good. Another stack. Milim is very close to her ult. She's not going to get it here, because I don't think she has an orb. But... Lumi's ult is in the back, right here. I'm going to go ahead and send the Shuna orb just to get it out, because we can orb steal and then change with Shuna to get a 5-hand of blues plus the ult. It just gets us ready for everything. So let's steal, and then... we gotta use everything, huh? We gotta use everything. Didn't quite work as I thought it did, but we have the points to spare, thankfully, because 8 turns is actually a long time. 8 turns is a long, long time. You can get a lot of stacks in if you get lucky with RNG. So, but you can see that ult didn't do crap to him. It did 5k, something like that, maybe a little bit more. It wasn't good. But here's that. Now we can steal again. This will get Milim's ult. And we're going to bring Raphael in? What are we doing here? We're on turn 7. Oh, we're getting her in for a stack. Okay. and then I probably bring Valentine in, because I'm not going to ult with Valentine. Yes. Okay. Or I'm not going to nuke with Valentine, so now we can steal that. We're going to send this entire hand right here to get as much damage as possible, which again, Val won't do much. 9k. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. So he's got quite a bit of HP left, so we're going to need the ult from Milim, who's going to be fully buffed, to put a dent in his health before we even get a chance to nuke with Raphael. So Shuna comes in, we'll use her ult buff, water resistance doesn't really matter, and then Raphael comes in, use one more stack here. What are we sitting at? We're sitting at 9 stacks? Yeah, 9 stacks, I think, yeah. So now, all the buffs active, he is stunned as well, so we get the stun strike. So now we're going to send Milim, but we're going to send a couple orbs before him, because he does have guard. But I don't think he can guard if he's stunned. I guess we'll find out. So let's send pop, pop, pop. Okay, he does not guard. There's the ult from Milim, and then here's Raphael for 507. I think Milim did like 212 or something like that. But, you know, the overkill damage only at 459 really hurts it, because it wasn't the 1.9 million damage from last segment. So yeah, your score is not going to be in the hundreds of thousands. It's going to be below 50k. But if it's what you got, it's what you got. Let's move on. Okay, this is going to be the last team, because if you don't have Light 3.0, you can certainly attempt, you know, the Water Team, but again, he does have all that magic resistance. The Water Team doesn't do as much damage as Light 3.0, so just expect a much lower score. But if you don't even have that, or if you have segments of whatever, if you have at least Diablo, you could use this team. In fact, you could probably even replace someone for, you know, Gobta, who's going to get at least that extra 60% damage buff, even if he is AoE. But we're going to use Hakuro as our primary DPS, because he is Wind, and then the hero, and then Xion, Dark Xion, to give us Pierce and Pierce Power, and then the ult buff from Shuna, and we're just going to attempt to make this go as best as we can. Now, the hero is here because she does have the rewind, and Clayman actually does not have any crit resistance. So, I mean, technically, you could bring the hero on any of the teams that I just used. If you want to bring a hero for Dark Valentine, you could. If you want to bring a hero for, you know, Water Rimuru on the Light team, you could. You know, be my guest. Thankfully, at least they didn't lock her out. And, you know, using the hero gets us an extra turn, essentially, to get as many stacks as possible with Diablo. But again, like, this team is even worse. This team actually has sorry damage. But, again, use what you got. So, I did the run as an example, just to give people some ideas of what they can pull out of their ass to try and attempt this boss. Or maybe just don't attempt it and just say, fuck it, I hate this, and then you leave. And you know what, that's your own prerogative. It's a game, you don't have to play it. And if you don't like what you're doing, and you don't like what the game is doing, then no one's forcing you to play. And I certainly won't force you to play the game either. Many, many people have come and gone. It is unfortunate. I do want this game to live. Sadly, they do make mistakes. And this might be one of them. I don't know. If everything starts going towards EX alts, it really kind of depends, though, on how this whole skill revamp thing goes for the old units. This is a trash run. I'm going to just talk over it. We're just going to talk about something else now, because you guys can see it, understand it, that it's a stacking meta. But the skill revamp, right? I did the video, and I'm going to record a number of videos going through each of the metas that was presented, and be like, okay, well, this is what you could change on each of these units now that they've all been listed, like all 30-something units that are in that pool. And we'll go through and we'll be like, okay, what can they change? And a lot of the I expect small buffs here and there. I don't expect them to suddenly make Fire Benny Mario, the OG one, like the AoE god of the game. They certainly could, but I don't expect it. I expect them to be competent damage dealers, not godly damage dealers, or godly supports, or any of the matter. But there always could be, you know, the chance does exist that they do. And they recognize that, you know, they need to buff units up to the level of somewhere around EX units, maybe a little bit less, but, you know, in order to make them not complete garbage. Because a lot of them are garbage, unfortunately. Like, Dark Xion is old. Her first skill, you know, like, there's a lot of people that give Pierce. No one that gives Pierce power on the same skill, so she has use, but she is vastly outshone by other characters who have more use than her for their second skills, because hers is like poison or dodge poison. I don't actually remember. It's pretty useless. So please just like get that skill out of there. Give me something new. Give me something else that we can make her good again. Maybe up her stats a little bit. I mean, hell, they could even give old units EX alts. Like, that would be hilarious if they just gave some of the old characters a double alt gauge, and then we're laughing when Earth Lumi does an EX alt for 1.5 times damage with an increased buff to her magic stuff. I don't know, but going back, okay, so we've used the rewind here, so we're getting a little bit extra out of the turn. I think this is the initial rewind, so whatever we do after this, we're not going to have access to orb changing, but this will get us more protection gauge, which I believe gets us a full, a double meter right there from half. So we're just trying to build up Hakuro for his ult. You know, he's going to be our damage dealer, he's going to be our strongest unit having type advantage on this stage. We can't really do anything about this, right? So we're going to use Diablo. I think, I still have the charm on him for alt gauge, which is going to Xion, actually, because she has a whole bunch of awakened gear alongside the Dark Millim she's attached to, so I could have put a wind charm on instead to help Hakuro hit a little bit harder, but honestly, like, it's not going to matter that much, guys. This team is trash. It's just whatever you got. So, turn 6. We're just setting what we got. We actually don't even need that many skill points for this to work. I mean, technically we've got the Pierce power from Xion, so that's 55. We've got the alt buff, that's 55. We have the hero crit buff, that's 55. And then we also have Hakuro's own skill, which is a 30%, 40% defense down or something like that, and then a 30% chance to crit. Something along those lines, so we can lower his defense, which is nice, and then alongside all the stacks of Diablo that we've gotten, he can hit, for him, okay damage on a team that's not built for him. But I don't recommend bringing Wind 2.0. They're all magic based. They don't have big time buffs. Certainly you could try, but it's going to get you just a bad score again. But, if you can, you can, and at least they all have type advantage, right? So here, it is turn 8, we are ready to nuke. We have, I think, 3 ults in the back. We've got the hero ult, Xion ult, and the hero ult. So we'll go ahead and use that. We've used the alt buff from Shuna, so that's already gone. And we're just going to use this because they're all physical units. And now we will send everything and pray that we don't kill early, because I don't think we will. Not at 8,000. 70k with Xion. HINATA, or Hero, does 72k, and then Hakuro ends the fight at 177,000 damage, which is abysmal. But 1, we get an S rank somehow, and 2, we got 82,000 overkill. Hooray! But yeah, so those are the 3 teams. I mean, technically anything that you used for Boss Battle 1 you could bring into here and make it work, but obviously you're meant to be using the Fountain of Wisdom team. But I think this is where we'll end it. I don't think we need to do 5 teams on this, because honestly, use what you got, like I always keep saying. But let me know if this even remotely helped you, or it just pissed you off even more. Let me know in the comments. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you later.